Welcome to King of Hearts, Queen of Sorrows, my platform for discussing one of my favorite shows of all time, Mobile Fighter G Gundam. I'm your host, Matthew Munoz. I am an aspiring author and selective enjoyer of anime, and today I'm going to be talking about G Gundam Episode 5. So, in the course of G Gundam Episode 5, Domon ends up fighting Argo Gulskii, Neo-Russia's fighter. Now, the whole thing about, the highlights for the episode of this. Domon has gone ahead to Neo-Russia searching for the man in the photograph, or rather the Gundam Fighter of Neo-Russia, so that he can inquire to them or of them what they know about the man in the photograph that he's been given. So he goes there, he gets captured, he is in a prison, he's being beaten by government officials. There's an intelligence officer and some sort of military lady with glasses and a riding crop who likes to yell at people. And she's certain that the man that they have in custody is Neo Japan's. Well, she's sure it's Domon. And she says that their intelligence tells them that 100%. And so what they end up doing is they throw him in a prison, in a work camp kind of thing, and he's working along, and it turns out that what Neo-Russia has been doing is every year for the last, I don't know how many out of 60 years when there's a Gundam fight, which, it's every 4 years, they've been capturing Gundam fighters on this, it looks like a little island, and they capture them there, they find their Gundams, even if they have to beat it out of them, the location of them, and then they reverse engineer their technology and make the guys slaves for life. And anyway, there's a guy in there, Birdman, he calls himself, or they call him, he says, to Domon. And Birdman is actually spying on Domon for the authorities of Neo-Russia. Anyway, so what happens is Domon ends up fighting a little bit with Argo Gulskii, who is a fellow prisoner embedded with the well, sort of. He's embedded with the other prisoners who are from other nations, and I'm assuming just Russian criminals too. And he ends up fighting with Domon a little bit, and turns out that he likes Domon's fighting spirit. So they end up having a match at the end of the episode, and it's a draw, another draw here. And anyway, I'm going to try to break it down and go slowly into each character and see what I can find. So, what's Rain like? Again, not much on her. There's a line that you have to double check the translation of it. She says that if Domon keeps kind of leaving her hanging like he does, that she's going to dump him, or she's dumping him. And I don't know what that means, because as far as I can tell, they're not together. She might just mean as a partner and as somebody who, cares about him and sticks around or whatever. That could be all that's about. I don't know. So, but basically, she just spent the whole episode looking for Domon and trying to get help from her dad, who works with the colonial authorities as well. And that's a good way, colonial authorities. Anyway, so that's all I got for her. Domon. Let's see. Domon, I don't know if I would call it honorable or how I would define it. The fact that he's sustaining the torture and the beating, basically, I would call it a torture, from the Neo-Russia officials. What does that mean about his character? I mean, the guy's tough. That's certainly clear. And I guess, he reminisces about all the pressure on him, about how everything having to do with his father is weighing on him, and he's the key factor. So maybe that one reason is why he held out. And well, I'll move on. So Argo, we don't really get much insight into Argo except for what other characters say. But other than he's super strong, what other characters say about him is that he is a pirate whose crew is being held at ransom, basically, and he has to win the Gundam fight for Neo-Russia in order to free them. Now, he has a little bit of an adventurous spirit or a rebellious spirit, he was a space pirate, so you would think there would be adventure and rebellion in him anyway. But it's exhibited here in that he goes against the orders of his handler, who's the lady with glasses and the riding whip. She's got green hair. Her name is Nastasha. I know that, but I don't know like what her last name is, or if she's a colonel, or what she is. But find that out later. Anyway, so like he defies Nastasha, and she's wondering in different parts of the episode like what he's doing. She says like, "What's that man doing?" and what could he be doing, and that kind of thing. And it turns out that the most likely explanation is that Argo sensed a really solid fighting spirit, like a martial artist or fighter spirit from Domon when they fought earlier in the episode, and he wanted to test himself against that and defeat him, you know, not just to bring himself closer to the to freeing his friends, but just as a, you know, fighter. He wanted to match and defeat Domon. So, I mean, that's kind of interesting. I find it more interesting that he's fighting to save or protect his friends, personally, but just throwing things out there. The Birdman brings up something, an issue of imprisonment or being prisoner, and that's something I want to focus on for a minute. So I'm going to start talking about themes now, and I think you know, there's this big theme of imprisonment, and it's illustrated that people are actually imprisoned, and I think it's a good metaphor. And Birdman says it at the end there, that one of the rules of, well, he says a couple things that'll inform it. One is at the very end, he says that, you know, the Earth, you know, International Gundam Fight Regulation number 7, the Earth is the battleground, which is the truth. And there's a barrier around Earth that stops, or it's intended to stop Gundams from breaking out from the Earth, and I would think vice versa, stop others from coming in. But anyway, the main point is the fighters are on Earth for a year during the Gundam fight. And he also brings up the fact that the Neo-Russia thing is perfect, because when a Gundam fighter doesn't show up, their nation presumes that they have abandoned them, that they are treasonous, and it sure seems like he's saying that if the Gundam fighters were to try to go back to their home nations, that they would be executed as traitors, which is super, super harsh. But from what I've seen of the Space Colony Authority so far, that doesn't really surprise me. It seems like par for the course, which we're going to get into. Next episode is 6, right? Yeah, next episode is 6, so we're really going to get into it there. Just how awful and harsh and severe the officials can be in the government. So, yeah, there's this theme that, you know, Domon sees himself as a prisoner. He sees himself as a prisoner on Earth. He sees himself as a prisoner, like, shackled to his father's fate, or his father's shackled to him and his fate as far as what he does. I don't know, maybe even like Rain is trapped in, you know, this very cold area of Russia, searching for Domon, and she's like bonded to him. So it seems like a sharpening of kind of the theme from last episode that I brought up about like the things that we want versus the things that we need to do. And, you know, I'm sure Argo wants to be free, but he needs to save his friends, or he wants to save his friends, so he needs to fight for Russia. And, you know, he had wanted to be free as a pirate before, and, you know, he needed to commit crimes of different kinds in order to do that. And, I don't know, it's an interesting relationship between freedom and captivity, and, like, what we choose to do and what we're forced to do by others, and, like, what is coercion. I mean, Domon is obviously, you know, he discovers that Argo is being coerced into being the Gundam fighter, but then again, Argo chose to fight Domon. He could have let everything stay the same and just never fought him again, or fought him in person, you know, had Domon transferred, executed, whatever, all sorts of things he could have done, but instead he chose to, even as a prisoner of Russia, of Neo-Russia, Argo chose to stage a breakout so that he could get Domon out into the open near his Gundam, because Domon wasn't giving up the location of his Gundam. So, you know, I guess Argo, if he's a captain of a, you know, a space pirate, a leader, the guy's got to have some smarts, and he does show that off. So that's, I guess, another interesting point for him as a character. So there's that. But anyway, like, really, he was exercising freedom even while in captivity in order to get something done that he wanted to get done for himself. Like, let's put it this way, he needs to win the Gundam fight championship for his allies, for his friends, so that he can get them out of prison and free them. But he chose to fight Domon on his own, for his own enjoyment, pleasure, for the challenge, whatever. And that's kind of interesting. So maybe maybe the theme or an idea explored in this is like that anything can be a prison if you let it, and you can have freedom even in prison if your mindset is correct. Like that old saying, you know, something about 4 walls and a mind do not a prison make, or something like that. You know what I'm talking about. It's an old saw. Anyway, that's really all I have to say for now. No gadgets from Rain this time, unfortunately. Nuggets of lore. I guess the Gundam Graveyard in Neo-Russia, like taking apart other nations' Gundams to make their Gundam better, you know, to make Bolt Gundam as powerful as it could be. That's a pretty cool bit of lore, I suppose. I don't know if that's like a summary thing or it's a world-building lore thing, but regardless, I think it's pretty cool. That's all I have to say for now. So remember to go out there and grasp happiness.